The impossible choice first contact gone wrong, Captain Elena. Rodriguez stared at the view screen as the massive alien vessels materialized from hyperspace, their crystalline hulls gleaming like deadly jewels against the starfield. The research. Vessel Aurora's Dawn suddenly felt very small and very fragile in comparison to the 12 warships that had just surrounded them. "Captain," whispered Dr. Marcus Chun from the science station, his voice barely audible. "Those ships are each the size of a small moon. Their energy signatures are off the charts." Elena's fingers drummed against her command chair. 20 years of military service followed by 5 years of deep space exploration had taught her to stay calm in impossible situations. This definitely qualified as impossible. "Any response to our peaceful greeting transmission?" she asked Communications Officer Liu. "Nothing yet, Captain. But they're scanning us extensively. Whatever they're looking for, they're being very thorough about it." The bridge crew worked in tense silence for several minutes until the main screen flickered. An alien face appeared, humanoid but distinctly different. The being had elongated features, silver blue skin that seemed to shimmer with internal light, and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on its face. When it spoke, the universal translator struggled with the complex tonal language. "Greetings, small vessel of the species you call human. I am High Arbiter Vorthik of this Anthari Empire. You have entered territory under our jurisdiction." Elena stood and straightened her uniform. "High Arbiter Vorthik, I am Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Earth vessel Aurora's Dawn. We come in peace on a scientific mission. We had no knowledge this space was claimed." Vorthik's expression remained unreadable. "Peace is irrelevant. What matters is worth. The Anthari Empire has encountered your species before, Captain Rodriguez. We have observed your worlds, studied your capabilities, assessed your potential." A chill ran down Elena's spine. "Observed our worlds? For how long?" "Sufficient time to render judgment. Your species shows promise, but lacks the strength necessary for survival in this galaxy. Therefore, we present you with the trial of worth." Another alien appeared on the screen beside Vorthik. This one was smaller, with more angular features and eyes that seemed to calculate everything they saw. "I am Strategist Zilvin," it announced. "The trial is simple. Your vessel will engage our smallest combat ship in battle. If you prove victorious, humanity will be granted protected status within our empire. If you fail, your species will be eliminated as a threat to galactic stability." "The odds stack up, dear?" Sean's face had gone pale. "Captain, our scans show their smallest combat ship has weapons that could vaporize our entire vessel in seconds. Our shields wouldn't last 10 seconds against their firepower." Commander Kira Okafor, the ship's tactical officer, leaned forward. "It's worse than that. Their smallest ship is still 3 times our size and appears to be equipped with particle beam arrays, quantum torpedoes, and some kind of energy field that our sensors can't even identify." Elena looked back at the screen where the 2 aliens waited. "High Arbiter, your terms seem designed to ensure our failure. How is this a fair trial?" Vorthik's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Fairness is not the goal, Captain. Worthiness is. Throughout galactic history, only species capable of overcoming impossible odds have earned the right to continued existence. The strong survive, the weak perish. This is the natural order." "But surely," Elena pressed, "there must be different ways to demonstrate strength. What about intelligence, creativity, adaptability?" Strategist Zilvin made a sound that might have been laughter. "Captain, we have observed your species for decades. You excel at creating unnecessary complications where simple solutions exist. You fight among yourselves over resources while other species cooperate. You waste energy on art and music and stories when you could focus on military advancement. These traits are evolutionary dead ends." Elena felt her temper rising, but kept her voice level. Those traits you dismiss might be exactly what makes us worth preserving. Perhaps, Vorthik said diplomatically, but the trial of worth has been the same for 1,000 years. Combat reveals truth. You have one standard rotation to prepare. May your weapons serve you better than your words. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Human nature emerges there. Chun was the first to speak. Captain, there has to be another way. These aliens have obviously never encountered humans in a desperate situation before. What do you mean? Elena asked. Marcus stood up from his station, his academic mind already working. Think about human history, Captain. Every time we've been outmatched by superior forces, we've found unconventional solutions. David and Goliath, guerrilla warfare, asymmetric tactics. We don't fight fair when survival is at stake. Commander Okafor nodded slowly. The professor has a point. In my military background, I specialized in unconventional warfare. These Centauri. Think in terms of direct confrontation between comparable forces. They might not be prepared for human creativity under pressure. Elena began to pace the small bridge. Explain. Well, Kira continued, they're expecting us to arm up and charge into battle like some kind of honorable warriors. But humans don't just fight with weapons. We fight with our minds, our environment, our ability to see possibilities that others miss. Dr. Chun pulled up historical files on his screen. Look at this, Captain. The Battle of Thermopylae, the Vietnam War, the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. Humans have a long history of using terrain, psychology, and unconventional tactics to overcome superior forces. But this is space combat, Engineering Officer Patel interjected from across the bridge. There's no terrain to use, no civilians to blend in with. Elena stopped pacing and looked at her crew. These weren't just officers under her command. They were some of the brightest minds humanity had to offer. Chun with his theoretical physics background, Okafor with her tactical genius, Patel with his engineering innovations, Liu with her communications expertise. If anyone could find a solution, it would be this team. What if we're approaching this wrong? Elena said slowly. What if the key isn't to fight their battle, but to change the nature of the battle itself? The seed of an idea communications officer, Liu looked up from her station. Captain, I've been analyzing their language patterns and cultural references. The Zenthari seem to value strength and direct confrontation above all else. But there's something else in their communications. What? Curiosity. When strategist Zilvan dismissed our complications and unnecessary traits, there was something in the translation algorithms that suggested fascination rather than contempt. They're genuinely puzzled by human behavior. Dr. Chun leaned back in his chair. That makes sense. From their perspective, we must seem like a biological impossibility. A species that survived and thrived despite being physically weak, technologically inferior, and seemingly inefficient. Elena's mind began to race. They've been observing us, studying us. What if they're not just testing our combat ability? What if they're trying to understand something about us that doesn't fit their worldview? Commander Okafor caught on immediately. You're thinking we should demonstrate human nature rather than human firepower. Exactly. They want to see strength? Let's show them what human strength really looks like. Engineering Officer Patel looked confused. But Captain, how do we do that in a space battle? Their ship will destroy us the moment combat begins. Elena smiled for the first time since the aliens had appeared. Who says we have to wait for combat to begin? Liu, open a channel to the Zenthari fleet. Captain, Dr. Chun said worriedly. Are you sure about this? No, Elena admitted. But that's what makes us human. We take impossible situations and find possibilities nobody else would consider. The view screen flickered back to life, showing High Arbiter Vorthic's imposing figure. Captain Rodriguez, have you prepared for your trial? High Arbiter, I have a proposal. Your trial of worth is designed to test combat strength, but it fails. To test the qualities that have actually made humans successful, I propose a different trial. Strategist Zilvan's image appeared beside Vorthic. Captain, the trial of worth is not negotiable. It has been the same for a millennium. And in that millennium, Elena replied, how many species have actually passed this trial? There was a long pause. Finally, Vorthic answered, few. Most species lack the necessary strength, or maybe the trial itself is flawed. High Arbiter, you said you've been studying humanity for decades. In all that time, have you figured out how we survived and thrived despite being weaker than most species? The two aliens exchange what might have been glances. Vorthic spoke carefully. Your species exhibits behaviors that seem counterproductive to survival, yet you persist. This is ... puzzling. Elena stepped closer to the screen. Then test what actually makes us strong. Give us a survival scenario that plays to human strengths rather than our weaknesses. If we fail, you achieve the same result. If we succeed, you learn something new about survival itself. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge crew in another tense silence. Think they'll go for it? Patel asked. Elena looked out at the alien fleet surrounding them. We're about to find out. But either way, we're going to show them what humans do when backed into a corner. 5 minutes later, the communication channel reopened. High Arbiter Vorthic appeared alone on the screen, his 4 eyes focused intently on Elena. Captain Rodriguez, he said slowly, you have intrigued us. Very well. Propose your alternative trial. Elena took a deep breath. Everything depended on the next few minutes. Asterisk the human gambit, the proposal. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood before the view screen, knowing, at the next few words, could determine the fate of humanity. High Arbiter Vorthic's 4 eyes watched her intently, while somewhere off screen, she could sense strategist Zilvan analyzing her every expression. High Arbiter, she began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. You want to test human worthiness for survival, but your current trial only tests one kind of strength. I propose we demonstrate the strength that has actually allowed humans to survive and flourish. Explain, Vorthic said simply. Elena gestured to her crew. Give us a survival scenario with limited resources, multiple obstacles, and seemingly impossible odds. Not combat, but pure survival. If we fail, you eliminate humanity as planned. If we succeed, you grant us the protected status you mentioned. Strategist Zilvan's voice came from off-screen. And what would constitute success in this ... survival scenario? Dr. Chun leaned forward. High Arbiter, you mentioned that human behaviors seem counterproductive to survival, yet we persist. This puzzles you because you're measuring us by the wrong standards. We don't survive through superior strength or technology. We survive through adaptation, cooperation, and creative problem-solving. Commander Okafor added, give us a situation where conventional solutions won't work, and let you show you how humans approach the impossible. There was a long pause before Vorthic responded. Your species continues to surprise. Very well. We accept your proposal, but with conditions. Elena nodded. Name them. First, the scenario will be designed by our strategists to be genuinely impossible by conventional standards. Second, you will have exactly the resources available on your current vessel. Third, failure will result in immediate termination, not just for your ship, but for your entire species. And fourth, strategist Zilvan added, reappearing on screen, you will allow us to monitor everything. We wish to understand this human approach you speak of. Elena looked back at her crew. Each face showed determination mixed with terror. They were volunteering to play a game where losing meant the extinction of everyone they'd ever known. "We accept," Elena said. The scenario unfolds 20 minutes later. The Aurora's dawn found itself in a nightmare scenario. The Zenthari had used their advanced technology to create what they called a survival crucible, a pocket of space-time where the laws of physics had been subtly altered. Dr. Chun stared at his readings in disbelief. "Captain, they've created a region where our engines won't work. Our weapons are useless, and our communications can only reach each other. We're trapped in a slowly collapsing spatial anomaly with a massive asteroid field that's becoming increasingly unstable." Engineering Officer Patel looked up from his console. "It gets worse. The gravitational fluctuations are causing structural stress throughout the ship. We have maybe 6 hours before hull integrity fails." "And the asteroids?" Elena asked. Commander Okafor pulled up tactical displays. "They're not just rocks, Captain. Scans show they contain various elements and compounds, but they're also embedded with some kind of Zenthari technology that's causing them to fragment and accelerate toward each other. It's like a three-dimensional puzzle that's actively trying to kill us." Communications Officer Liu added grimly. "The Zenthari are broadcasting on all frequencies, Captain. They want the galaxy to watch humanity fail." Elena absorbed this information while studying the tactical display. To any conventional military mind, this was indeed impossible. Their ship was dying. They were trapped in a collapsing field of hostile asteroids, and they had no weapons or engines to fight their way out. But Elena wasn't thinking like a conventional military mind anymore. Human ingenuity emerges. "All right, people," Elena announced. "This is what the Zenthari don't understand about humans. We don't see obstacles. We see resources. We don't see problems. We see puzzles. And we don't see impossible. We see not yet figured out." Dr. Chun looked at her skeptically. "Captain, with all due respect, the enthusiasm is appreciated. But the physics here are genuinely impossible. The spatial distortions alone—" "Marcus," Elena interrupted. "What's the first rule of human problem-solving?" Chun paused, then smiled slightly. "Change the question." "Asterisk. Exactly. The Zenthari are asking, how do we escape this trap? But humans ask different questions." "Lou, what questions should we be asking?" Lou considered this. "How do we use this trap? What aren't we seeing? What assumptions are we making that might be wrong?" Engineering Officer Patel suddenly straightened. "Captain, what if we're not supposed to escape the anomaly? What if we're supposed to understand it?" Elena nodded approvingly. "Go on. The Zenthari created this pocket dimension, right? But they had to use existing space-time to do it. That means there are rules here, patterns we can work with rather than against." Dr. Chun caught on immediately. "The asteroids aren't just obstacles. They're components. The gravitational fluctuations aren't random. They're following the patterns the Zenthari programmed. We're not trapped in chaos. We're trapped in a very complex, but potentially predictable system." Commander Okafor began pulling up new displays. "If we map the asteroid movements and the gravitational waves, we might be able to find a pattern. Humans are excellent at pattern recognition, especially in chaotic systems." Elena felt the familiar thrill of a plan forming. That's thinking like humans. "What else?" Liu spoke up excitedly. "Captain, the Zenthari want to observe how we think. That means they're learning from us, even as we try to solve this. What if we turn that into an advantage? How? We make our thinking process part of the solution. We don't just solve the puzzle. We show them why human thinking works. The solution takes shape over the next hour." The crew of the Aurora's dawn began working in a way that would have seemed chaotic to most alien observers, but was pure human collaboration. They didn't have a hierarchical command structure dictating solutions. Instead, they had a web of interconnected minds, each contributing their unique perspective. Dr. Chun mapped the physics of the anomaly while simultaneously developing theoretical models of how Xanthari technology might interact with human technology. Engineering Officer Patel began dismantling non-essential ship systems to create tools they'd never been designed to be. Commander Okafor analyzed the tactical situation while also developing contingency plans for 17 different scenarios. Communications Officer Liu maintained contact with the Xanthari while also processing the mathematical patterns hidden in their language. And Elena coordinated it all while contributing her own insights and asking the questions that kept everyone thinking outside conventional parameters. Status report, Elena called out as their fourth hour began. The anomaly is definitely artificial, Sean reported. But it's not just a trap, it's a test environment. The Xanthari have created a space where conventional solutions are impossible, but unconventional ones might work. Patel looked up from a mess of cables and components. Captain, I've managed to reconfigure our sensor array into something that can manipulate local gravitational fields on a small scale. It's not enough to move the ship, but it might be enough to influence the asteroid patterns. Okafor nodded. And I've identified a sequence in the asteroid movements. If we can time our gravitational nudges correctly, we can create a cascade effect that turns the asteroid field from an obstacle into a propulsion system. Elena blinked. We're going to surf the asteroids? More like conduct them, Liu added. Captain, I've been analyzing the Xanthari language patterns in their communications. They're not just observing us, they're actively curious. Every time we do something unexpected, their language becomes more complex, more nuanced. I think they're learning to see problems differently just by watching us. Elena looked around at her crew, these brilliant humans who had taken an impossible situation and turned it into an opportunity for creativity and innovation. All right, people, let's show the Xanthari what humans do when the rules don't work. Let's rewrite the rules. The human symphony, what happened next, would be talked about in both human and Xanthari records for generations. The crew of the Aurora's Dawn didn't just solve the survival scenario. They transformed it into something unprecedented. Using Patel's improvised gravitational manipulator, they began conducting the asteroid field like a complex symphony. Chun's theoretical models allowed them to predict gravitational harmonics 6 moves ahead. Okafor's tactical mind turned defensive maneuvers into choreographed dance moves that used the asteroid's own momentum against the collapsing anomaly. Liu translated their entire process into mathematical poetry that the Xanthari could follow and understand. And Elena, at the center of it all, didn't command her crew so much as inspire them to exceed their own limitations. Instead of trying to escape the trap, they turned the trap into a tool. Instead of fighting the physics of the anomaly, they partnered with it. Instead of seeing the Xanthari as judges, they treated them as students eager to learn. The asteroids, which had been fragments of destruction, became components of a massive engine. The gravitational fluctuations, which had been tearing their ship apart, became the power source for their improvised propulsion system. The spatial distortions, which had been imprisoning them, became the medium through which they painted their solution across space-time itself. The moment of truth, as the 6th hour approached, the Aurora's Dawn rode the final gravitational wave out of the collapsing anomaly. Their ship intact, their crew exhausted but exhilarated, and their impossible solution complete. The view screen, activated immediately, showing both High Arbiter Vorthik and Strategist Zilvin. But their expressions had changed completely. Where before there had been skepticism and calculation, now there was something that looked remarkably like wonder. Captain Rodriguez, Vorthik said slowly, in 1,000 years of the trial of worth, No species has ever requested to change the trial itself, and none have ever succeeded by transforming the challenge rather than overcoming it. Strategist Zilvan leaned forward. Your approach was inefficient, chaotic, and relied on improvisation rather than proven methods. By all logical standards, it should have failed catastrophically. Elena smiled tiredly. But it didn't fail. And that's the point. Humans don't survive by being logical or efficient. We survive by being adaptable, creative, and willing to see possibilities where others see only problems. You turned our test into a collaboration, Vorthik observed. You included us in your solution process. Dr. Chon nodded. That's what humans do. We don't just solve problems. We share the joy of discovery. We don't just survive, we help. Others see new ways to thrive. There was a long silence before High Arbiter Vorthik spoke again. Captain Rodriguez, the Centauri Empire grants humanity protected status within our territory. But more than that, we request permission to establish cultural exchange programs. Your species has taught us that there are forms of strength we had never considered. Strategist Zilvan added, we have observed many species, but never one that treats survival as an art form. Your creativity, your collaboration, your ability to find opportunity in impossibility, these are qualities we wish to learn. Elena looked around at her crew, these remarkable humans who had just redefined what it meant to be strong. High Arbiter, she said, we'd be honored to teach you. After all, the universe is full of impossible situations, just waiting for someone to rewrite the rules. As the Aurora's dawn set course for home, humanity's first alien allies following alongside, Elena realized they had done more than just survive an impossible test. They had shown the galaxy that human strength wasn't about fighting the impossible. It was about dancing with it until it became possible. And somewhere in the depths of space, other species monitoring the Centauri. Broadcasts began to wonder what these creative, chaotic, impossibly adaptable humans might teach them about the art of survival.